Hey Jim, I got a yard full of enormous trees that have been blown down by the hurricane. But today I'm going to do something else. All right. Today it's back into this crazy X5. There we go. You know, I just finally vanquished the electrical demons that had this thing possessed for 3 years by finally figuring out it was a slowly failing voltage regulator. So replaced the alternator, voltage regulators built in. Finally, the demons are gone. And now it's got a coolant transfer pipe leak. Oh, just like I predicted. I have done this job recently on my 650i, and it took me like 22 hours or something crazy like that. I'm going to try to do it on this much faster. Hopefully what I learned on the 650 will help me scoot right through. So what I've done is I bought the regular old Chinese kit, and what I learned last time is you cannot use the seals that come with the Chinese kit. So the Chinese kit's like $220 or something like that. And then I spent another probably $40 or $50 on these German-made, I believe. European, anyway. European. Gotta have good seals, and it should go together real easy. And this is left over from last time I did it. All right, so I'm going to start the clock, see how long this takes, and off we go. Gonna disconnect the battery first. Then I'm going to install my hood prop and some additional lighting, and then we'll start taking things apart. Disconnected both sides of the battery. Always disconnect the negative side first. And now that it's sufficiently isolated, I added a little trickle charger to it so it'll be nicely charged when this whole project is done. So now that I have my nifty lighting that I just unplugged, oops, some room for improvement there. Okay, so I'm going to start by cleaning out all of this debris from the drains, and then I'm going to remove, there's these little quarter turn rivet thingies here. There's others, I'm sure. But I'm going to take out this drip pan, and then the air cleaner box, and these snorkel tubes, all of that stuff like we've done a million times. Well, I got quite a pile of parts already. I'm about 30 minutes in, 35 minutes in. And I got most of this side. Obviously more vacuuming to do. Got to stop parking this thing outside. But I'm going to get the rest of this out. And I think I'm going to take these supports off. So, I mean, the idea here is we're going way down in there, which means everything here has to come out. The valve covers do not, but the valve motors do. So the more space I can give myself here, the more happy I'm going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and finish taking the rest of this pan and then these supports out, and I'll check back in with you. I'm also going to pop off these little, they're just plastic covers, these little guys. So I'm going to use two hands so I don't crack them, but I'm going to take those off too. All right, got about an hour in. All this good plastic top stuff is out. So now I'm going to start trying to take off like this. I think this is the PCV system. And they're all little plastic clips, so they're going to be brittle. And I'm going to take my time with a little tiny pick and try to work that each one of these off very slowly because I don't want to have to buy a whole new setup. Oh, first casualty. I broke the hose, or it was already broken and just waiting to fall apart because it didn't seem like I did much to have it fall apart. So I'm going to have to order one of these guys. All right. And another sad thing that I noticed is all of this wiring here, you'll see, is underneath the fuel line for the fuel rail here. And it's really going to have to be on top, like this side is. All this wiring is on top. That's how it's got to be in order to be able to peel this back enough to get this intake manifold off. So I'm going to have to pop the fuel rail off here and reroute this nonsense. But it's a flexible hose here, so I should be able to, if I do it carefully, but that's going to add to my time. Okay, so I'm going to start unplugging more stuff like here and my Valvetronic in here probably. Just anything that looks like I can easily unplug it. I'm going to do that now. And then I have to take off this engine lifting bracket because that's going to be in the way of getting out my intake manifold. And I'm going to take off this back cross brace. There's one there, one over there. It just holds all the plastic nonsense on. Okay, well, about 2 hours in. Feel like I didn't get far enough, but I'm certainly further than I was at 2 hours on the 650. All right, we'll be back at this tomorrow. But I didn't come back the next day, or the next week, or even the next month. That was October 14th of 2024, and today it is March 11th, 2025. And I have actually worked on this car a little bit more since that last video clip. As you can see, I do have the manifold out. I was very reluctant to pull the fuel rail off so I could get my wires to clear, so I could pull the intake manifold out. And I don't know why I was so reluctant. Let me show you how easy it is. Okay, this is our intake manifold, just how it was sitting in the vehicle. And in order to move this rail, I'll pull that bolt and that bolt, and then because this is flexible, the whole thing, it's got 4 injectors, and it just pops right off. You can see where the injector goes in right here. And once these bolts are out, I took the whole rail and I just started very gently wiggling it in a circle, like just a little bit, while lifting up on it. And I was just trying to pull basically just this back, the back one first. And I kept wiggling. Everything I read says don't pry it or anything or you'll damage your manifold. And after just a couple seconds, it went pop, came out like a cork. The next 3, just as easy. I had the whole fuel rail off, no problem. And the wire relocated and then the fuel rail back on, fully installed. I kid you not, 90 seconds. So I don't know why I was so worried about that. So the next issue I was having is I had to put the vehicle on these little roller skate things, which makes it sit a few inches higher. And then it's got this ridiculous bumper. So I was having a very hard time reaching towards the rear, and you have to reach into the back to unplug those plugs from the back of the manifold, and I was just having a heck of a time. And my beautiful wife Shannon said, well, don't they have like a creeper thing that you can get that, well, look at that. Another problem solved. Thank you, honey. So I got this thing, set it up, and it's really great for reaching way in the back. Everything else about this, as you can see, I already have the pan out, the valley pan, and I have the transfer pipe, and I cut that with the Sawzall. So this is the old valley pan, and I've already recovered the little clips that were here and here and put them on my new valley pan, and I have a new rubber hose. And let me show you the pipe. Okay, this is the back of the original transfer pipe, and that seal looks pretty bad, but not terrible. And then you can see where I cut it. It's not too hard to do. And then you can see, look at how bad this front seal is. Ooh, that's where we were really leaking. Yeah. So what I did to cut this out, I lined everything in here. Well, first of all, I put some cloth in, and then I got some cardboard and made creases in it so I could put it in there to protect my edges here, so I wouldn't accidentally nick anything with my saw while I was working on it. And I just went nice and slow, very carefully. And all of my ports were completely covered. Now you see I have little bits of cloth in each one. That's to help keep stuff out, and I'm trying my best to keep anything cleaned up. I mean, I went through here and vacuumed several times while I was sawing, and once the cut is made, then the pipes come out pretty easy. Take the back one out first. So I had about 2 hours into this, and when I stopped on that first day in October, and now I put another, I'm going to say about 3 more hours into this, a little here, a little there. So I have about 5 hours into it so far, and it's completely apart. And now I'm starting to put stuff back in. So I'm going to put my new seals in place. Everything's been cleaned and polished, and you know, I use my little Scotch-Brite here to clean all the surfaces, and so everything is clean and ready to go. So I'm going to insert my new seals, and then I'm going to build my expandable pipe and see if I can get that installed today. Well, there we have it. The front and rear seals are in, and the new expandable coolant transfer pipe is in, locked in place, ready to go. And so now all we're going to do is try to put her back together. So I think I'm up to about 6.5 hours at this point. I'm up to about 7 hours now. As you can see, I have the valley pan in, I have all the bolts torqued properly. I've got this outside coolant pipe installed correctly. I had the wiring harness on the wrong side of it, and then I had to stop. I was planning on all of these parts just jumping off of this table and going in here rapid fire, and I'd be done in just a couple more hours. And of course, there is a coolant vent pipe, I think it is, and it goes from here where it's 3/8, and then there's a little nipple there, and then there's one right there. Oops. Anyway, that pipe, both those nipples are 1/4 inch, and then there's the 3/8, and it's underneath the intake manifold, and it's very difficult to get to if I continue to put this together. This is what is left, and you can see what has failed is this little 3-way connector. The plastic just gets old and crusty, and as soon as you touch it, it breaks. The hoses seem fine, so I ordered a brass, and the new assembly, unless I'm looking this up wrong, is like almost $100. So I went ahead and spent $6 or $7 on a couple of brass barbed fittings here that are 1/4, 3/8, and then I'll put on some better hose clamps. So now, instead of it being back together and me testing it, I have to wait till Saturday. Well, it's Saturday, and this is my failed fitting. You can see it broke off. Both the 1/4 inch connectors were broken, and it's held together with these stupid permanent hose clamps, and these are kind of a pain to get off. So I ended up, there's a little like a pinch thing on the top. I ended up sticking that in my vise and flattening it, and then using some aviation snips or tin snips or something, and I used aviation snips and just cut the tab off, and then you can peel it off without damaging the hose. But then getting the little piece of the nipple here that's stuck in the hose out without damaging the hose is also a bit of a trick. I ended up using a couple little picks and just very carefully breaking it up and getting it out of there without wrecking my hose. All right, and here we have it installed. There's my little brass fitting. You can see it go over to that nipple, over to this one, and then over here to the nipple on this front hose. And I just replaced this front hose recently when I put in the new alternator. Okay, so that problem is solved. So now I have to put my clips back on my plugs back there, the 2 side plugs, the metal clips. I pulled them all the way out. So I have to put those in, and then I will clean this all out again, and I will pull out my green intake cloths and vacuum again to get any lint that's in there out, and then I will lay down I have new gaskets to put there. Right here, all of this I've already cleaned. So once I pull these out, I'll vacuum everything out real nice and clean again, put on my gaskets, and then I will fly in my intake manifold and try to slide it back where I can reach with these plugs and get the plugs in the back of it all plugged back in, and then I think I can set it down on the studs and start putting the nuts back on. Yeah. All right. So here are my manifold nuts, and you can see I've got my wires for those plugs, and there's another plug. I don't remember which one. I'll have to wait until I find one without a wire, and then we'll just start going this way. Well, looky. I got the intake manifold in. So I'm up to about maybe 8 hours on this, and I've got the manifold in, I've got all of the nuts installed, all of them torqued properly. I'm starting to reroute some of this wiring. I'm going to take my strings off and let the wiring harnesses go back to where they're supposed to be and start plugging stuff in. And then I think the next thing I need to put in is my valve adjustment motors. Then I'll install my engine lift bracket and keep going that way. So 8 hours is what I really wanted to have in this when it was finished. And obviously it's not quite finished yet, but I'm getting pretty close. So I'm going to say, barring any other horrible events happening, which now that's the kiss of death. I should have this done. Obviously not 8 hours, but I'm going to say probably by 10 hours. But I'll let you know. Well, 10 hours in, she's back together. First start. Okay, that's a pretty good sign. All of this stuff is because I have to reset everything from having the battery out, but she's running. Let me go see if she's leaking. Okay, well, I took a nice little short trip to Charleston and Folly Beach. Not in this car. He took my truck. But I have run this car through 3 different heat cycles where I completely warm it up. And I've driven it about maybe 4 miles. And I have no leaks. Yay! Problem is, what I do have is a check engine light came on. And when I ran my scanner, it showed a P0013, which indicates that I have, where I took those variable valve timing motors off, and it says that the bank 1, which is the passenger side, it is got some sort of open or short circuit, or might be a plug undone. But so I have to dig in down here and re-inspect how I did things on that. So it's not quite good. But what I did fix down there, the transfer pipe, not leaking. Yay, everything's good. So I just have to iron out whatever it is that I did to screw up my variable valve timing system. I unfortunately could not find anything obvious. The only thing I found actually obvious is I removed this bolt. And you don't really have to. The whole thing just pops off of it, but the head sticks through into the airbox. I didn't take off the other side. Didn't need to. I have unplugged and the plug on the top of the motor here, and everything's good. I've somewhat traced wiring, and there's nothing seems amiss. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pop this little plastic cover off, and I'm going to take out the 4 screws that hold this motor in, and I'm going to remove this motor and then reinstall it and see if anything changes. You know, it's got that crazy gear thing on it that unwinds when you pull it out. Zip! So maybe I just didn't wind it back in properly. That's what I'm hoping. We're back together again. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little skin thing that I got at Harbor Freight, and I'm going to connect it to underneath the dash, and I'm going to clear that P0013 out of the memory, so we're starting fresh, and then we'll start her up and maybe go for a drive and see if it throws that code again. Fingers crossed. Okay, well, wiggled a couple plugs, cleared it all out. Everything's good. She's happy again after months of being, left in the shop because I had many other things to do. I have a couple new cars I even have to tell you about, but that'll be a different day. Thanks for watching.